And we're live. How you guys doing this morning? Oof. A little early in the morning for me. And probably none of you guys expected it. 8 a.m. stream Saturday morning. So early. Yeah. Need coffee. Agree. Coffee time for sure. Oh, man. Anyway, look at this. DSA Scientific. How awesome is that? Yeah. I had a picture last night on Instagram of like this and a bunch of different Texas Instruments calculators surrounding it. I don't actually have a TX30X. I probably should have bought one to have one again, but I guess I have a bunch of their graphing calculators. Nah. Anyway, today, this is not the showcase, this awesome keycap set, although it is cool. Today, we're going to be building a board, which is on my, somewhere near the bottom of my list of, for PCBs, but is at the top of my list, not the actual top, but in the top like 4, maybe 5, but probably 4. Of my favorite boards when they're completed of all time, and that's the Duck Unicorn X Legend. Because the way it feels, especially with an FR4 plate, which is what we're doing on this one, because it's freaking awesome. I don't know why it's so cool. I don't know, I mean, exactly what I loved about it so much, but just the feel in general was awesome. So here's our awesome FR4 plate for today. Love FR4 as plate material. Plus the Duck Snow PCB, which is objectively bad, and while it's really close to H87, doesn't quite fit. The USB port is on the other side of the PCB from the H87 format, which makes it not compatible. It does offer some cool features, like some indicator lights up here and down here. So, you know, there's that. But as expected, beautiful. I think the one that I built before had a had not a brass weight, but it might have been a different duck board now that I'm thinking of it. I think it was the X. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it had a carbon fiber weight insert, so not a non-weight, as it were. Yeah, I don't actually know how many people will join us. I was contemplating doing my making up my stream because I was on Mechs on Deck on Wednesday, for anybody that doesn't know. Contemplating making up my stream this week, last night, but I had a work obligation that kind of had to take precedence, had to take the forefront. We'll set that there for now. So yeah, this is, I don't know, man. As much as I have bad things to say about the PCB of this board, there are very few boards I can remember feeling and sounding as good as this one did. So looks like this PCB is like new. So I don't have the RGB, I believe this was RGB LEDs that went there. Yeah. Yarp. Were they not? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were. There's 4 over here. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, well, if they are in fact not RGB LEDs, then we do have what we need for them. Oh, they don't have them up here. That's right. It's a different duck board. Yeah, so we're gonna try desoldering these indicators right there. Anyway, Snow Tools is garbage. So, you know, there's that. Did I post various social media outlets that I'm streaming? I did post on a few. I auto tweet when I go live, and then I posted to, I posted in Nathan Kim's and Top Clack's area for other streamers, and then Piney's bot will ping me. That's where it goes for me. TSC. I kind of don't expect there to be a lot of people that would join in the morning, even though the East Coast is a few hours ahead. It just I don't see our group as a bunch of morning people, though I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just projecting that I'm not a morning person onto everyone else. Not normally. I have a lunch thing though, and I don't know. I just don't want to. I don't want to stream on Saturday night this week. That doesn't sound like my Saturday night plan. Actually, I have a fancy dinner that some friends are making that run a catering business anyway. So that's what I'm doing tonight. Going and having a good meal. Hopefully you guys have good stuff too. Nerds are generally not morning people. Yeah, I agree. I find that same thing to be true. Yeah, so the H87 format has the USB connector on the top, and then it doesn't have indicators right there. That's the difference. That is the difference. And of course, Win Keyless, which, you know, customer, good on you for choosing an awesome layout. The best TKL layout, IMO. That Sangan bottom row with blockers, Win Keyless blockers. I approve. Really is my favorite. My absolute favorite, in fact. So, without too much further. Actually, we'll get to this in a minute. We aren't gonna lollygag today, though. I want everybody to have a good Saturday morning stream if you're joining me, and but I'm gonna start with lubing some stabilizers because that needs to be done. We're using Zeal stabs, 62 gram Zealio V2s that I lubed. Good choices, by the way. The last one of these that I built had Telios, and it was kind of amazing that I thought it felt so good, right? Because as you guys know, I'm not a linears guy. I'm not a big linear fan, so I don't hate them. In fact, if you watched Mechs on Deck last week, you'd know that I gave them a big +1 by listing them in my top 4 at the very bottom, because for linears they're clearly the best thing that you can get. Cat inks are all right, but they're inferior. They're not quite as good, unfortunately. And I'm not sure how superior something can be in the linears world, honestly. I mean, can it be less wobble, and can it be smoother? What else you got? Like weight. Can the weight be different? But weight is simply a spring thing. I guess you could have a semi-linear switch where there was no tactile bump, but there's a curve, right? So you got the progressive springs and reverse progressive springs, which are still progressive springs. So I'll just stop saying reverse progressive. We'll just say progressive. In any event, yeah, there's just not a ton of things that could change a linear other than how smooth it is and how wobbly the stem is. Whereas with tactiles, there's the whole character of the bump, which, you know, could range. Let me separate all these so I know where we're going. I'm gonna take the screws off first too. But yeah, I don't know. I gave Zealios big props by including them. I don't know if they're actually my true favorite in the top 4 anyway, but they are really, for linears, they are for sure. I guess they asked me a lot of like top 4, top 3, between 2 options kind of questions, and I kind of caveated it with, what about this other thing instead? Or 5 options or whatever, but hopefully they didn't hate it. I don't think they did. I had a good time talking to those guys. They definitely have to be some of my favorite personalities to watch content-wise, other than, I don't know, actually favorite other creators. So it's funny because I stream builds, but my favorite content to watch of other people's actually isn't build content. I mean, I like watching Nathan, but my favorite actual content to watch is probably Top Clack and Mechs on Deck, in no particular order. I like the direct news format of Top Clack sometimes. Like, I really like that someone else is taking the time to kind of share the goings on of interest checks and group buys. And I feel like Mechs on Deck is almost doing that same thing sometimes, but through interviews and basically just, you know, talking about what's going on. They don't cover directly interest checks in a formatted view. They're covering kind of the in-between parts. So my favorite content is actually that, like, journalistic. Sorry, I have 2 webcams on the top of this monitor, so I keep looking at the wrong one. But yeah, so I like that journalistic kind of style a little bit more in terms of content that I watch. But I personally like building boards, so, you know, it's what we get. That's what you get. And thanks, by the way, for watching, joining in on a Saturday morning. I'm surprised there's like anyone present in my channel on Saturday morning. I guess this is adults instead of watching Saturday morning cartoons. Watch this, right? Watch streamers do fun keyboard build. All right, stabs. Here we go. So I'll do a little short instructional on this stuff. For those of you guys who aren't really used to it, right? So we're gonna get a little bit of lube on our applicator, and on the inside of this stabilizer guide, we're gonna just kind of try and evenly-ish. And you know, you want to get it as even as possible, but at the same time, this lube is gonna move around by action of the insert itself. You want to get an even coating on there? Yeah, I know, I banged up one of my fingernails. I want to get like an even coat on there that's not so thick that the plunger or insert can't move around, but where it's coated. All right, for anybody who wants to know. And then we're gonna do that a bunch, but I'll actually just make this whole stabilizer first. Right? So we're gonna take the side of this. There's the side that has one hole, and there's the side that has two. We're gonna take this on the side that has two holes, and we're gonna plunge this whole thing into here. And then side that has two holes, for anybody that doesn't know. The focus occur. Focus. Right? Side that has those two holes goes straight in the bottom and kind of chills right there. And we'll put the wire in a little bit. Yeah, our keyboard Saturday. There's one thing I need to check before we go too far, and I need a keyboard for it. Maybe not the best keyboard for this desk, but you know, it is what it is. I want to make sure that I'm making so I keep notes when customers have specific requests, and while I used to do Band-Aid mod on everybody's boards by default, I don't anymore. And I remembered that I had a customer who wanted Band-Aid mods. I don't believe that's the case here, which is good because Band-Aid mods, while they're also a pain, are I don't know, probably not what. Oh, he does want Band-Aid mod. Okay, cool. So we are Band-Aid modding. I don't know. I think it's controversial whether or not they're good, right? I have pre-cut Band-Aid mods. I might not. Okay, we'll be cutting new ones then. You might need these. Yeah, so I will be cutting some Band-Aids in a minute. It's not a big deal. We have them close enough to done. So yeah, anyway, try and keep track of all the details for every customer in their own sheet, right? I'll also go through and search just to be sure through conversations, but I build like a quote doc and I keep a spreadsheet that has details like that on it for every build order. I do kind of wonder how other streamers do it. I mean, I know how some of them do. But, you know, it's just one of those questions you gotta know the answer to. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Get that stabilizer lube going. That's maybe a little much. I won't apply all of that. So, I'm curious if you guys have any keyboard projects going on, or any coming up you guys are doing, or maybe you don't. Don't recognize a couple of the names. Not a ton of people in here, but I also don't recognize everybody's name. So maybe you guys are new to the hobby. Maybe you're just trying to understand what the options are. And if that's the case, definitely feel free to ask questions. This is a good place for that. All right, I'm gonna take this off. All right. Get rid of that guy. When we get to soldering, that would be in the way anyway. Oh, whew, coffee. Nectar of the gods. It's funny, I don't usually do builds, even for myself, ever really in a morning. Maybe I'll try and stream more on mornings sometime. Or add streams in that include different times. I've always been tempted to like experiment with my build times to try and see if it works better for other people, but I guess we all have limited time, so it's difficult to do. I mean, everybody has limited time, but there's a couple people now that have a lot of time where they build, like where they do a lot of builds, and it's kind of exciting, right? I mean, there's a lot of content out there that you can actually watch now. I mean, what I think I saw Nathan streaming on a random. It wasn't random, just on a different day, in the middle of the day. I was like, I guess now that he's full time, like he just all the time. It's freaking awesome, man. Maybe one day it'll be like gaming or streaming almost, where there's always someone streaming the game you want to watch, or in this case, maybe keyboards. That would be super cool. That would be super, super cool. That's too much. That's okay. We'll use that excess somewhere else. It's places where it's difficult to overlube are actually in the plastic insert, and then on the wire itself when you go to clip them to the board. Those are the hard places to actually overlube. I don't want to say hard, right? You could always just swamp something with lubricant, like pack it in there with a squeeze tube or something. But generally speaking, with a brush applicator, where you're taking globs like I am, even if it was like double the size in this insert, it probably would not be problematic. And if it's anywhere in the ballpark of a little under the optimal amount and, you know, half again as much, it's not even going to be noticeable in the result. inside of this hole and inside and on the actual wire itself. Now, inside of here, absolutely, there could be like hydraulic locking as a result of having too much. So this is why I think 205 grade 0 for stabilizers especially is fantastic. Even newbies can get away with doing, why would I do that? Even newbies can get away with doing it fairly well, as long as they, like, you know, follow someone's guide. Just watch somebody else do it and try to mimic that specific thing. Now for switches, it's a little different. For switches, 205 grade 0, you could absolutely over lube any switch with almost any lube, but definitely with something thick like 205 grade 0, you could over lube. 3204 is much more forgiving. However, even that you could absolutely over lube if you were just dousing it. So I highly recommend trying just one or two to get a feel for it. Now the thing with one or two is you're gonna have to use a brush, which doesn't really translate well to tub lubing. Like, you're not gonna tub lube one switch and get valuable data on how to tub lube effectively. So definitely if you're tub lubing, which I recommend anyway, because it's simply better, if you're tub lubing, you should watch one of my videos or someone else's where I tub lube or someone else does. I have a couple videos where tub lubing is going on. One day maybe I'll have to search through, find the clips for tub lubing, and then cut it out and make an actual produced content video on it. Sorry, a little hair got on the actual applicator and it needed to get off. Well, I don't know if it was a hair, but something fiber. Okay, though, we got it off. I like it. Anything with a beat makes me happy, though. Cool. That was good. All right. So we'll build the actual stabilizers up, putting the wires together and everything, the whole deal. So for the wire, you're gonna want a fair bit. We'll have to come back for a little bit more. So I'll coat this wire. In a meaningful and appropriate way. And then I will show you guys that real quick, what that looks like. It's actually pretty good right there. We could add just a little bit more. And we will. Again, the wire, it's hard to put too much on right here on the wire. There we go. That's this is maybe just a little bit heavy of a coating on this side of the wire, but I do want you guys to get an idea. It's not too heavy. right? So there's plenty on there. And that's kind of what you want, honestly. So hopefully you guys are able to do this meaningfully. And if you were using 3204 instead of 205 grade 0, for instance, here, which is what I'm using, you would actually be using a pretty similar amount on the wire. You want a good coating all over the edge of that wire. It'd be about the same amount for these stabilizer wires. I use just a tiny little bit less on that side. Not much though, it's about the same. Pretty darn close. And that's okay. You're only ever gonna get so close. So I think this is where some people who are new fail, is they are attempting to get it so even that they add too much. Perfect. And you want to avoid that, right? Like, you don't want to get too much no matter what. Like I said, here is not too bad, but like on your switches, if you're hand lubing, which by the way, I don't think you should do, but if you're hand lubing, that's where people will fail. On the inserts themselves, they'll do that thing. You want to avoid that, right? Leave well enough alone. If you find that you're just like getting too nitpicky and going back and forth and back and forth, it would be okay if they were a little under lubed even on the insert or plunger. The flash hole on the plunger you can almost swamp and it's fine, but not the flash hole, but the hole on the plunger you can almost swamp where this wire goes through. But on the guide, so this bigger plastic doodad, not the smaller one, on the inside of that, you could you can kind of go back and add more lube once the board is built. Pull the keycaps off, pull the plungers up, and literally paint the side of that plunger, and you'll get more lube inside of that hole and on the side of the plunger. Literally, think about it this way. So if I extend the plunger as though it were out of the board, and then I start adding a little bit here, right? Like I just added a tiny little bit. Now when it goes on inside, it literally coats just a little bit more on the inside of that. Likewise, you can kind of remove that by opening that up and wiping it off the side and pushing it back down, pushing it up, wiping it off. You can get some of that lube out. Now, I would not recommend attempting to do it that way, to remove lube that way, if you over lube, because that's a lot of work. And there's no guarantee that you're gonna get all of what you want out. But putting more in absolutely works well. So, I mean, like I've added more that way to underlubed stabilizers. I've removed a little bit before too. Right? The point is to get it actuating the way you want it. So, because the truth is that too heavy and too light are purely subjective. I mean, we have like a range of what's accepted by folks, but but it's absolutely subjective. Like somebody might like their switches swamped and difficult to press. I mean, the likelihood that those people exist in any real quantity is pretty low, right? Think of it as a bell curve. Maybe you're 3 standard deviations out on the heavy lubing. If I had to estimate where I'm at on the spectrum, I would say that I'm, and I understand this, so I don't lube customers' switches to my tastes. I see where the rest of everybody else kind of likes theirs based on feeling other people's boards. And then if customers have like a, I prefer switches lubed kind of this specific way or whatever, I'll tailor it. But I would say that I am one standard deviation away from the center toward the heavy side. I prefer my switches lubed a bit more than most of the population. Like 75% of the population probably like the lube job a little bit lighter than mine, or the way that I do it for my own switches at least. I tend to err on the side of a buttery feeling versus raw fast actuating, like adding just a tiny bit. Some people are really fond of adding just a tiny little bit to barely smooth out any action, whereas I want it to be all smooth, and even at the cost of a little bit of tactility. Especially on the type of switches that we have now. Like, this is absolutely true with things like Zealios V2s, because they're so tactile anyway. Like, we got a lot of tactility when we move to something like a Zealios V2 or a Holy Panda. And so in my mind, I'm willing to sacrifice just a little bit of that crazy added tactility to get like really, really smooth actuation. That is definitely not everyone though. I think a lot of people listen to other people's opinions though and haven't formed their own, and so they're like, oh no, I can't have it that way, I need it this way. And I mean, like, that's okay, right? It is. Like, I felt Nathan Kim's like stab lube job or whatever, and they're really good. Like, really, really good. But that's a style, right? I think the technique is pretty flawless the way he does it. But also maybe you like it way lighter than his. Maybe you're willing to accept a little bit, or the threshold of rattle, to have super fast actuation. I mean, you'd be standard deviations away from probably at least 2 away from the norm, but maybe that's how you like it. You're not wrong for building a board the way you like it. Which is why when I have customers who are like really new, like who don't know anything about keyboards, who are talking about it, and they're like, yeah, I want this lubed and that thing and all these options, it's I mean, I'll do that thing for them, but I want to make sure that I understand what the effect is that they want, because no matter what it is that I do for them, I want them to like the product that they bought. Try and understand all of their requirements. Yeah, I don't think Saturday mornings will become a regular stream time for me. Not this early, at least. Especially not random, like, non-pre-coordinated. It does not work out. Probably a good idea, and your mod thanks you. Yes, absolutely, TSC. I won't make it a habit. And I'll say it's for you. It's all for my mod. They don't like Saturday mornings, so no. No, I'm actually good with it. But I would never make a habit of it. Mostly because it doesn't work well for me time-wise. But I really want to get this customer's board built and out to him because, well, it's been sitting around for a little bit and I know they want it. They've got to be getting anxious to get it. And this was supposed to be their week, and then I did Mechs on Deck. So. And it's funny because, like, what I guess on my regular streams, sometimes I have like 30 or 40. I think the max is probably like 60 people or whatever, but the max I regularly will have is like maybe 30 people. But hey, Temp321, thanks for following. But basically, you know, like if you do it unannounced, nobody kind of knows. I mean, I posted stuff unless you're like Shroud and there's a million people that are following with like notifications turned on. You know, it's limited in how many people will know on your off time and be available. So I'll stick to my evenings. But now it's time for Band-Aids. Oh, the Band-Aids. We're gonna need another Band-Aid, I think. Oh, no, we got... I mean, I have a whole box of Band-Aids right next to me, so it's not like I can't quickly... So, it's funny, I was in Jack Static's Discord a bunch lately, paying attention, mostly lurking, because, you know, how I do. I don't participate in everybody's Discord all the time, very actively, but I was, there's a section in there, and I can't remember what it's called now, but it's basically like science fiction novels people are talking about. Fantasy, science fiction, whatever that people are reading or listening to on audiobooks or whatever. And it's kind of cool. I'm happy that somebody in the community has a section literally dedicated to like something I'm into. So maybe not a ton of sci-fi, though some sci-fi for me. Also fantasy, urban fantasy, all sorts of stuff. Have I thought of something to do for a 1-year anniversary? I haven't. When is a 1-year anniversary of my stream? I have to like go back and look at what my first... Urban fantasy is awesome. It's a great genre. Like a great genre. I mean, who doesn't want to think of magic being around in the world literally right now? Ooh, it says win key, win keyless. Sweet. That's actually really cool. I didn't remember that the board did that. That actually makes me incredibly happy. What does this say? space M space C. Don't know. Oh, 7. Cool. That's actually really, really cool. I'm gonna make this application of these real easy. Don't need that for now. Get this back. Hit your 7 month. Oh wow. Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to. I'm gonna consider that then. I think a reasonable thing to do might be to try to involve others in the community. Maybe set something up where I have people come chat, regulars in the stream or whatever, participate in voice chat. See if we can't get folks that we know in the community, both personalities that everybody kind of knows, but also like just subs and regular chat folk like yourself, for instance. That's what I'll do for a 1 year. That would be kind of cool, I think, actually. I don't know. You tell me. What do you think, Mod? Maybe make some other kind of content. Yeah, I mean, of course, but that's kind of the point. If you want to do an anniversary thing or a special thing, so you kind of want to make it special. Do something that you haven't really done or won't regularly do, maybe. So while I love building keyboards, I'm definitely considering adding some kind of other content at some point, like a different format, or do something with some other people kind of regularly, dual streams or hang out, because I think it's fun to chill and chat with people about things that are going on in the community. I had an amazingly good time on Mechs on Deck this Wednesday. I definitely want to continue to build keyboards, but I could definitely be willing to branch out into something else. Because for me, it's funny, like for me, yeah, I charge money to build keyboards because, you know, it takes time and stuff, but it's definitely not the driver for wanting to do this. Like, I actually wanted people to be able to have things that they could reference to see, like, oh, this is how you do this specific thing that we're doing in keyboards. And I've made a lot of streams, and people who watched the stream probably got to see all that. I haven't made a lot of produced content that does that thing, and I'm not sure I'd want to move into fully produced content, because that's there's a bigger time investment in it, and also it what's the right way to say it? It's not so interactive with the community directly. So whatever I do, I kind of probably want to keep it in the streaming realm instead of like only posting YouTube videos or something about it, because I like interaction with folks. Like the best, most fun stream times for me are usually when like there's a bunch of people in and they're chatting and we're talking, because then it feels like you're like hanging out with friends. Not that I don't like just building a keyboard. I mean, crap, even since I've started streaming, there are times where I've unbuilt or built or harvested or done things that I didn't stream. Like they were just for me and it was relaxing. But man, I don't know. I still do Band-Aid mods for my own stuff sometimes, and I may even stop doing Band-Aid mods for my own things, like altogether. I mean, I don't know. It definitely doesn't hurt. So, well, it could. I mean, I guess if you're just doing it badly, like you soak, I don't know. Actually, if one comes dislodged, that could actually cause a problem. Like if the glue fails at some point. There's no way to really control that, right? Because it's Band-Aid. Like the glue is whatever glue they use on Band-Aid. But I don't know if it makes a difference at all, really, at this point. Maybe I'm convinced, but maybe I'm just buying into what other people have to say about Band-Aid modding, right? A lot of people talk crap about it, or not talk crap, but claim that it's just completely useless. I don't know. I'm doing it probably for a little while still, because I'm like, this board has it on here and it sounds amazing. So people did it for a really long time and there weren't problems related to it. Okay. There can be if you get too much lube on the... What was that sound? Oh, Deli, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, I've been telling people it's deciding to do a stream on Saturday morning probably doesn't work out so well for the viewership. But I'm happy that I'm getting your board built, man. I'm happy that it's getting done for you. I couldn't let it sit a whole other week. Would have felt bad. I have advertised turnaround times that I try and stick to no matter what. The only time that ever breaks is the only time customers' stuff ever really sits for a seriously long time on my floor in a box is when not all the parts came, right? So my build queue doesn't actually start until parts arrive. So like if we're waiting on something, we're waiting on something else. Okay, so what I was saying for Band-Aid modders, this is where you got to be careful, right? So when you Band-Aid mod, the only real way that you're gonna mess this up or make it a less good situation because you put Band-Aids on for sure is if you get way huge globs of lube on here and it's like there's a ton sitting on top of it. When you push down on the stab, and this is more true with certain types of stabilizers than others, you can almost get this like sticking. I've done Band-Aid mods on Alps boards, and that's where I find it to actually be seriously problematic, is where the keycap insert bottom piece, if it gets lube and stick, like when it bottoms out, it'll like stick to the Band-Aid thing, kind of not come up. I haven't actually had or ever felt anybody have that problem with MX, but most of the Band-Aid mods I felt are my own, so I imagine the same principle applies with MX. The idea is definitely just to get it looking pretty wet all around, like water soaked into it, not like there's a pool of lube on top of it. Like here, we're just wiping off any excess that might just be stuck there, like that. Anyway, yeah, you were listening to other builders talk about Band-Aid. Said it's useful in their opinion. Others were trying fabric tape. Yeah, there's a bunch. Somebody's done some like science with sound, where they pretty much said, nah, it's worthless. But I still put it on my boards too, so I don't know. Teach their own, I suppose. I don't recommend it for people because it seems to have fallen mostly out of favor. That being said, anybody who actually wants it, I'd do it. I like never charge customers more for it because I put it on my own boards, so it's like, you know, it should be considered a service. I don't, however, do it by default anymore. I used to. When we started, I definitely was doing it literally just by default. You were getting Band-Aid mods unless you told me you didn't want it. But it was kind of the norm. Like 6 months ago, it was like everyone was doing it. So just for the color on a part of your board that you'll literally never see, I don't understand. Then again, we're such a boutique community that I don't understand a bunch of the things that we decide to do from a logical standpoint sometimes. But what are you gonna do? But what are you gonna do? Nah, it's not a big deal though. I mean, people sometimes just want something because they want it, regardless of why they want it. And when you're building a thing, or in this case, having somebody else build it for you, you kind of get to make that choice, right? It's not a bad thing at all. Like, I really like specific colors, so sometimes I buy keycap sets that are that specific color, even though they're like $200 or more sometimes for a set of keycaps. Such is life. Right? Soren, what's up, man? Oh. You're the one, I think, who did the stuff initially saying that there wasn't value, right? Am I right? I feel like you might be the one saying that Band-Aids weren't particularly useful or good. You're kind of delayed right now on mobile. Oh, yeah, it happens. Mobile. Okay, so the deal with mobile Twitch is that it isn't very good. Like, there's all sorts of crappy Twitch mobile things that I hate. Like, I want mobile right? I want the option to be mobile on Twitch, but also it's kind of dumb sometimes. Came to explore the community streams. Well, hey man, it's nice to see you here. Thanks for visiting. I appreciate it. Hang out. So basically, we're building this duck unicorn legend today, and it's funny because I built one of these before on stream, and I hated the process. Like the entire time I was building it, the other one's PCB was really bad. Funny, I haven't actually tested this PCB yet, but I haven't soldered it yet either. But we will do that momentarily. Anyway, the it was a bad PCB. It had issues, but it was desoldered, and there was obviously something else busted. I don't actually remember what we did to it now, but there was some fixing that was required, some PCB repair. But the actual result was awesome. I was like, wow, duck unicorn legend, who knew? When the actual final thing was built, it was fantastic, and I'd say that it's still in my top it's in my top 4 or 5 boards. The complete project. The PCB is not at all a favorite. At all. At all. It does have some cool features though, like indicator lights on the side that, you know, you don't really get. It's H87A-ish. Like it actually fits H87A, but the port is on the wrong side, plus it has these, right? I mean, these aren't strictly necessary, the indicator LEDs, but the port being on the wrong side, definitely problematic. For if you wanted to try and use something like an H87A, or shutter a little bit at this point, a Liku L3 as a replacement. Not even a little bit wet. My friend, the stream. Oh, yeah. Wait, what was the not even a little bit? Not a zero zilch. What are you talking about, TSC? What did I miss? Ooh, what were we talking about? Oh, the duck PCB. Not a zero zilch, like I didn't do anything to it. I definitely did. I may have done it off stream. I may have done it off stream. Definitely I did do something to it though. There was some SMD soldering for sure. I recall. I just don't recall the details. If I didn't do it on stream, then I mean, we just won't know, right? Oh yeah, I definitely did not like it, but I don't know, it's hard to argue with good results though. Extraordinarily difficult. I do know that while I was doing all that repair and stuff, I did take measurements from the PCB and give them to Heinebush. I don't think he had like a plan to definitely make a replacement or anything like that, but I know that in chat history, I did take the dimensions and verify that they were the same. It's just this port being on the wrong side kind of sucks. Yeah. Alrighty then. Man, I almost pulled out the exact right number of washers. One too many. Damn shame. At least it wasn't one too few. So here's what I love about Zeal stabs is that they have that metal insert to screw into. However, it's actually bad. I have had one instance where the top side of the PCB, there was a small intermittent short that thing caused, which had to be addressed. Kind of a pain. Mini USB versus USB-C. Which do I prefer? That's a loaded question, actually. So I prefer both in different instances. USB-C is technically just a better port, I think, for the things that we want to use it for. However, a lot of PCBs use USB Mini, so I'd almost prefer us to stick with it and just make all things that way so that I don't have to switch cables back and forth and change them all the time. So I have conflicting feelings on USB cable type specifically because of that. Like right now, I don't have a USB Mini cable up there and I need one to test this thing. So I'm like, where is a USB Mini cable? And the answer is right here. It is more future-proof, and it's actually better because it's reversible. Like, not just from a future-proofing standpoint, but from a usability standpoint, it's better. I think the rated insertions are higher on USB-C than on Mini, so there's that, which is frankly very, very important when we're building like $1,000 keyboards and stuff. So a bunch of these SMD LEDs don't work, or at least they aren't on. It doesn't mean that there's no functionality on them at all. It just means that they aren't working, they aren't turning on right now. Yay! But we can kind of I guess figure it out. What did I do 4? Okay. I don't remember where the function layer is on this board by default. Since customer is in chat, you should verify this is exactly the layout you want, right? Full standard ANSI. I mean, I always call out, hey, I'm doing full standard ANSI with split caps when available, unless you request something else, but you're here. So let's make sure this is exactly what you want. I guess there aren't a ton of options that you could change with this board. What you could change is you could do split right shift, and you could do stepped or not stepped caps. Uh-oh. Yeah, we will look. I have a feeling you probably still want me to build. Grrr. There we go. Turn it off. Sorry. Wanted to turn off caps lock. Kept turning on and off. Luckily, the MOSFET and all the LEDs are actually on the bottom side of the board. So if there's something busted with it that can be repaired, that's how it would be done. Guess we'll look for win. Both of those work, yeah. I mean, this is an extraordinarily hard PCB to find an extra of, so all the switches work just fine. So you use snow tools to actually modify. So here's my fear, is that they're all in a series, the ones that are working. So it's possible that I don't know which direction these ones go in, but it's very possible that it's really bright, I'm sure. So very possible that the series starts over here and goes around. And so that like one of these is just not in contact. But I don't know for sure. But what I do know is that if you want it built with all the switches on it, because you're not going to be able to probably easily get a new PCB for this, is that all that troubleshooting can be done once it's soldered together with switches. But it's your call. If you tell me to stop, I'll stop. But we're almost at that point where you got to make the choice. Usually though, when it's in a series like this, it's because like one LED, potentially this one, isn't all tacked down. Or this one maybe. No, so I don't know for sure because I haven't plugged snow tools into it and looked. But usually when you only have part of underglow LEDs lighting up, because they're all wired up in a series, usually what's happening is like this one might not be all soldered down correctly, and so that means the rest of the ones in the chain won't go on, or it could be this one and maybe they go that direction. No, it's cool. So two things. One, do you want me to continue building it even though some of your underglow LEDs aren't working? Because the PCB isn't easily replaceable, it almost doesn't matter because you're probably not going to be able to get a new PCB anytime soon. So if it's busted, like there's something broken, a trace broken, and it requires a lot of repair, probably you still want the board built, maybe. But the other thing that I was asking is what layout you want. I always go with standard ANSI, but since you're here, I can ask. I always do stepped caps and standard ANSI unless somebody defines it otherwise. You didn't define it otherwise. The only real options you probably have, well, you have a lot of options, but the real ones I think are probably, do you want to do split right shift and do you want to do stepped caps? And do you want me to continue to build based on this? I'll investigate the why it's not working more afterward or before. Your call. But before means we might not be done building today with the actual keycaps and, well, like with the switches and everything. Swap left control and caps. Then where caps was, make it win. Yeah, I'm not talking about the layout in terms of like digitally, I mean physical layout. You might have an extra PCB. I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it. I did plug in a different computer, which I have Snow Tools on, and I'll take a look. What's so special about this keyboard? It's crazy beautiful. When all is said and done, it will be a crazy beautiful keyboard. Plus, it'll feel really nice. So it's a Duck Unicorn Legend. Regular. Okay. Will do. Non-stepped caps. So that's what's so special about it. Matter Dash. Case is crazy. Beautiful. And it weighs a bit. I don't know. Maybe 5 pounds. Let's call it 5 pounds. We'll weigh it at the end. Yar. Heavy bespoke keyboards that they didn't make a lot of. Snow Tools. Sorry, I can't make this a lot easier on you guys. Share all this screen. Snow Tools. What we're gonna do is we're gonna check this board out right now. Connect to it, download data from it. Set what it is, right? Snow special. Yeah, I think no. You do. Okay. That's crazy. That's actually pretty uncommon. Good for you. I would not have expected that. No Unicorn Legend. Keyboard. What do you mean? No tools. Why is it not connected? Legend. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. Dealing with this crazy Snow Tools nonsense. Oh, snow. All right, so I don't know if they're repairable for sure. I'm sure they are repairable in some way. But I'm not going to know 100% until I put an iron probably to this, unfortunately. So I'll do a little bit of troubleshooting here. The question really comes down to whether you want me to find out DC volts, yeah. Whether you want me to solder it together right now before figuring that out, or if you want me to halt the process now and then we'll have to figure it out some other time. Well, I mean, I'll work on figuring it out, but it won't get built today. Because I'm definitely not going to have enough time to do that plus the build. I will say that if I build it up and we find out that it's not working and completely unrepairable, I will desolder this board and put it on the new PCB if you want. But then soldering will have been done to this PCB. Your call. Deli. Sorry, man. Oh, so, there's a bunch of other chat that went on. Talisman. Will make Chinese food or alternatively build log cabin on stream otherwise. But will I make Chinese food? Whoa. I could rather build a log cabin. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this board as is and then try and work on these LEDs like we discussed. And then if we can't get them working, we'll do that and I'll move the switches over, the whole deal. But the log cabin that I would build, by the way, Talisman, would be like a Lincoln log one, like a little itty bitty one. Vader, is PCB screwed into the case or does it float? So the PCB is here, the plate goes on top. We put all the switches in and then we solder the switches in. The plate gets screwed into the PCB or into the not PCB, into the case, and the plate floats below it. Please build the log cabin. It's exactly what you were thinking. Get points for knowing what Lincoln logs are. It's a generational thing, Talisman. Maybe I'm older than most of the other streamers that are going out there. Not all, but most. Lincoln logs, man. I had those when I was a kid. People who are born after, like, probably 1990 don't know what Lincoln logs are, I would guess. Tinker Toys. Tinker Toys were actually kind of more fun, I thought, personally. Like, much more fun, because you could build crazy things with Tinker Toys. They did look dorkier, though. Alright. So that being said, what we talked about, this is now gonna get soldered together. Okay, guys, get ready. Okay, yeah, not a problem. I have a feeling we'll figure out eventually what's going on with this thing, but it may take a little bit because I also have to get its firmware. I have to get Snow Tools to recognize it and play with it, and that is actually a feat. Snow Tools is junky. It's really bad. Like I said, the PCB on this thing is absolutely the least desirable part of this board. 100%. Like, if it ran QMK and it had an H87A in it, it would just be a better board for it. Like, outright. Bug Heine. Ask him to make a PCB for it. And he's gonna get all mad at me for it. But it's basically already there. I did measure these though, so he does have the measurements of where those holes are. So he could, in fact, make a PCB for it. And you want regular caps, not stepped. All these pins look pretty straight so far. Okay. Erector sets. Yes, erector sets. Man, Talisman, you're bringing it back, man. Oh, speaking of bringing it back, so I don't know exactly what generation you're in, exactly where you're, because there's a wide swath of people age-wise that are considerably older than me that I think could have had Lincoln logs, because Lincoln logs have been around were around for quite a long time. But what do you think of this, man? DSA Scientific. I Instagrammed last night a pic with a bunch of Texas Instruments calculators around, including this one. This is the only one that's still on my desk because honestly, TI-89 was like the calculator to be awesome, right? The awesome calculator. But I took a picture last night with like a TI-92 and a TI-89 and a TI-86 and a TI-83 maybe. Yeah, probably all those. I don't have my TI-82 anymore. I think that one got stolen. And... or maybe, no, I had an 86 there. Oh, no, it was a TI-82. Yeah, I didn't have one of those. Well, I did, but it got stolen. And I had a TI-83 Plus also, but I gave that to my dad. Like way later in life than when I had it originally. You have a Rockwell, dude, that's awesome. My stepdad had a HP, shit, what was the HP model number? Now I'm gonna forget it and I'm gonna look like a fool. A desk plug-in calculator. Like the first desk plugged in, the first calculator that sat on a desk and was plugged in and had a display of any real sort. I'm trying to remember, it was actually like historically relevant. I just don't remember the details now. Okay, so this is the problem with more flexible plates, including even sometimes FR4, which is that even though you got the pins through, you're not getting the switch to snap in the seat, which is why I was kind of futzing with it earlier and putting switches in before we did any of this sitting it on the PCB. And I'm going to do more of that. So I'm going to remove the whole thing. Okay. That's a little before my time, but so I had computers at a very young age, like 4 and 5. But I mean, my computers, my early computers were like 286s. Well, Commodores. So I did have a Commodore 64 at a very young age, and then moved to like 286s, 386s, 486s, so on and so forth. So maybe a little older than most of the people in the community, but I definitely did not build a computer with relays. That's awesome though. That really is awesome. But if I were around and of age to do it at the time, I probably would have done it. Hey man, thank you, I guess. Thank you. Sounded like I had experience. I hope that I don't sound like an idiot to anyone, so thank you. I mean, we all sound like idiots sometimes, I guess, but being an idiot, it would be way worse though. I don't want to sound like an idiot, but I especially don't want to be an idiot. How about that? Wow, dude, really? That's actually really awesome. That's really awesome, man. That's like something to be proud of. I mean, I don't know how much mileage you get out of it now that it's now that was a while back, but like it's worth something. It really is. Like, hey, I've been in this industry for a long time and done a few things. It's funny, I in my industry, like, I run into people that have been around for quite a while, who know things that, like, I just don't, right? Or didn't until they told me about how computers work still today. So there is value in knowing how these things work in a more, at a deeper level, and it's value that's kind of lost now. I'm not saying that current generations can't or don't at all understand. There's plenty of people that do learn it, but it's not everybody, right? More people are way up here at this higher level because they don't have to interact with their computer at a lower level at all, which is good because frankly, I mean, who wants to do that all day every day? But some of it gets lost, right? Like where we don't. My generation built the internet. I mean, when you talk about internet, so I was definitely there for early internet times. That's not. Oh no. So FR4 plates are great, but they definitely have their downsides. Which in this case is that lining up all these pins correctly is proving to be difficult. I think the thing I wish I knew more about that I never got super into when I was a kid, like I got into soldering, but I never got into like super in-depth electronics knowledge, like really heavy electronics knowledge. Like I took a couple circuit design, well, a circuit design course, and it was real cool, but I wish I had gotten more into that as a kid, so that I like had a much deeper understanding. But you kind of got to specialize, right? Like you used the ARPANET? Oh dude, what? Where did you work where you used the ARPANET, dude? That's awesome. Moonlander on a PDP-1? Moonlander, wasn't it called Space Wars on PDP-1? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure I am. You did it, so. Yeah, so I did, with my grandpa, build a transistor radio when I was a kid. It was cool. It just, I never had, like, super in-depth knowledge of circuit design. Like, where I was designing... I mean, PCBs for keyboards are simple, actually. Talking, like, really complex things. Wish I had gotten more into, had a better knowledge of I mean, I don't regret it, it's just, it would have been cool. It would be cool now. Old radios are super cool. Actually went to a broadcast museum not too long ago. It was super cool. It was in Minneapolis. It had a bunch of old, just all sorts of old radios and recorders and I don't know, just tons and tons of stuff. So I'm putting all these in all staggered around like this because anybody who doesn't know, what I want is this PCB or this FR4 plate, which is the same material as PCB, to have support so that when I put the rest of the switches in, it doesn't flex out of the way of them and they don't clip in.
One more day in this harmony.
Mozzie 8080 didn't happen until 1975. Mad Dasher, you're an EE. It's very fun. I mean, I'm not an EE. I don't know if I would have wanted to be an EE professionally. I just like, I don't know, for anyone in here that knows me, like, or anyone who gets to know me, in the end you'll learn that I really, really, really like having a knowledge of the way that the world around me works. Even if I'm not going to be able to apply it or use it in any real way immediately or maybe ever, I'm just kind of fascinated by how things function. And I always have been. Tinkering down to the level where I get an understanding. Kind of an important thing for me. Oh man. I wish I could help you out with that one, Talisman. That might not be something that I am equipped to explain to anyone. If I could, I would. Cray was based there. I think we're in Senior Cray. You're still a working engineer, though. You did stints as IT management consultant, but eventually decided to return to the technical work. Fair enough. I technically work in IT management as well. I mean, it's hard for me to describe it, but yes, that's the closest definition. Although I've been doing functionally a lot of like PM work lately, and surprisingly like it. Like, surprisingly, I dig it. For somebody who likes to tinker as much as I do in my hobbies, I actually am digging doing that kind of work anyway, which is, I think, most people probably don't feel that way. I'm probably the rare exception because I'm pretty extroverted. I like hanging out with people. I like talking. I like interacting. So, 5-hour meetings probably don't drain me as much as they do most people. And I still get to be technical enough, at least in my role. Yeah, I don't really love that part either. But, it's hazard of the job to some extent. Guess we're just putting all these switches in now before we start soldering, which is fine, because we're making sure the plate actually is good. And it actually is doing pretty well. Jacob TN, thanks for following, man. I appreciate that. I really, really do. Meetings are the worst. Yeah, and so like that's the thing, right? If you're not the kind of person who like is energized or invigorated by spending time dealing with and talking to other people, 5-hour meetings are terrible. 5-hour meetings or 6-hour or 8-hour or whatever meetings actually suck for everyone. However, for some people they just suck a lot less than for others. And I'm probably one of those people where they suck a lot less for me than they do for most. I believe that thing to be true. Well, yeah, if it's like a 5-hour management meeting, I understand. But if it's a 5-hour like working group kind of thing, not necessarily that bad for me. I could do it. I'm not saying it doesn't take anything out of me. It does, but I definitely see other people walking out like just wrecked from meetings like that. And I don't usually feel that way if I'm in something like that. Like I can still go do things. That's fair, you know? To each their own, actually. I mean, I'm not saying I would prefer to have 5-hour meetings all day, every day, but I don't mind being in big working groups for a long time. Okay, now we're gonna finally start soldering to this PCB. We're gonna have to work on this this LED stuff a little bit later, I guess, after I can get Snow Tools working and start actually troubleshooting. Since customer agrees, yes, start, do thing, and I'm willing to replace, well, to rebuild it if it all doesn't work or we can't get it working. I think we're good, man. Man, since I started working, doing streaming keyboard builds, I have gone through just about 1 pound of Kester solder. How crazy is that? I'm sure other people have gone through more, people who do like multiple builds per week. Like if I had to guess, Apiary probably goes through that, or has, or is nearing it. Love me as a team leader. I had 30-minute cap. That's the best, man. I will say, like, returns diminish after a while, but the thing is you can only have limits like that for certain amounts for certain types of work, right? For programs of certain complexity, for projects of certain complexity. If you have, you know, hundreds of people that are working on a program or project, not like software development program, just whatever kind of project, like for projects that are tens to hundreds of millions of dollars that require huge amounts of time investment to execute, sometimes you just have a lot of people, and there's going to be inefficient but necessary working groups. I actually had a discussion with one of my coworkers who's a junior in this part of the field, where I took him to such a working group and a meeting that did in fact last 5 hours, and had to explain, yes, there's a bunch of things that were talked about that aren't relevant to you now, but whose details may become relevant later in a thing that will, take years. It's just a thing. The outsourcing and H-1B visa nonsense finished it for you. You didn't want to be the American face of outsourcing or work for Indian personnel with significantly less experience. Sure. And that's fair. It really is. It's a complex issue, but generally speaking, I think when you have to import that much human resource, probably we just aren't choosing to do something else right here. Like get people educated in ways that are meaningful in the current workforce, as an example. Or encourage people to educate themselves in ways that are meaningful. And that's unfortunate. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, have people that move to and then are beneficial to our workforce here. We should. I think. But also we should be, the people that are born here, we should be trying to encourage them to become educated in ways that are going to be meaningful for the workforce. Like, it only makes sense, in my opinion. Ageism is out of control. Yeah. It is indeed. It's not too prevalent where I work. I mean, there are signs of it existing in some ways, but I think where I work is pretty good at not discriminating based on age. In fact, I actually think that if anything, they discriminate based on young age. I don't fall into that category anymore, but I have worked where I worked for a while, so I've seen it somewhat firsthand. But also, I mean, there is some truth to the fact that people who are very young just don't have enough experience sometimes to understand the nuance of operating in some environments. But you're also not a protected class if you're under 40, so people can discriminate against you based on age legally. So that's a thing. There's a difference between supplementing the American workforce and the government using immigration policy to guarantee cheap IT workers for major corporations. True. And so that is actually somewhat true. I mean, I don't know. It's a sticky wicket, right? Like, everyone has opinions. I'm not talking about yours. I mean, everyone has opinions on this. I don't think I'm going to get too far into the topic, because I don't want to get into an argument on my stream, or people to get into arguments on my stream. But in general, I agree that supplementing the American workforce is necessary sometimes. And if corporations or people are doing what you're talking about, right, which is trying to use some busted part of our policy, which, regardless of where you stand on immigration as an issue, I think everybody agrees that the system itself is busted in some way. Like, it's pretty clear, I think, that anyone abusing that bustedness is doing something bad. We should prevent people from abusing. All systems can be abused, right? They have to be administered. And that is definitely something we haven't been doing super well, for whatever reason. Everyone has an opinion on why, but we haven't been administering some of our governmental systems very well. And that being said, I mean, I believe that the government generally is the least efficient and best or worst option for administering or running any system, with the exception that sometimes there's no way to administer a system privately because of a conflict of interest. My 2 cents on why we need the government, but also it's a bad option. And I don't mean politicians, I mean like literally government functional workers. Someone else sent me this. And this. The biggest work issue is work ethics. View jobs as throwaway rather than looking to make a long-time career. So now businesses are looking at it like that. Yeah. Second is PBS. I don't know about all that. No. So I'm talking about the Breitbart thing. I don't know. Every source of news can be right because it can be reporting exactly the same things that other people are. I generally wouldn't try and get all of my news from one source, whether it was someone that was very reliable or not very reliable, or considered to be very or not very. Like if you, so I like use the Google home device to listen to news sometimes in the mornings when I'm packing lunch and getting ready. And if you, I'm not gonna like tell you guys exactly what my lineup of news agencies are that I let it play through, but if you looked at mine, it's like a bunch of moderate ones and then some to both sides of the aisle. Mostly for me, just because I think there is so much bias in media that I want to get information that they're all kind of saying and reporting about, because I want to hear, I need to be able to try and differentiate what's some kind of opinionated BS and what's, you know, just the facts. And unfortunately in today's world, I feel like there's no individual sources that are strictly unbiased. I think some are more than others, but you know, I try and get them from all over. Yeah, so Talisman, yeah, I haven't read the article that you're talking about. I don't know what that one is about, but that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? Like all these media outlets report on stuff that basically isn't generated by them. They just add their opinion. So if you can effectively parse out their opinion from the data, I don't think it's necessarily wrong to read it from one source or another. Personally. In fact, I'm curious what a bunch of different places' opinions are. We like keyboards mainly. That's true. But what Mad Dasher said, US's biggest work issues, work ethics. So you're talking about like management ethics in this case. I agree with you. People should be looked at as though they're a resource that can continue to pay dividends for corporations, and that investment in maintaining a good workforce that wants to work and encouraging them to want to work rather than encouraging them or firing them to leave and hiring somebody new is a better long-term strategy. Like, if everyone is unhappy in an organization, management is fucking it up. Just like, there's no way around that, right? I mean, there's just no way that isn't a truth. Unless like some disaster happened or something, like, and just everybody's really unhappy because external factors. Yeah, I'm definitely mainly into keyboards for my keyboard stream, but there are some political issues that affect us too, actually. We have our own internal politics, and while it's nothing on the scale or violently different, I shouldn't say violently because people will actually think that I'm being literal, vastly, radically different views like exist more in global politics than they do in the politics of our community. There's some lessons to be learned, I think, personally. For instance, right, I was on Mechs on Deck. They were asking, right, what's your favorite and least favorite things about mechanical keyboards, the community, and I said my least favorite thing, and there are things that I dislike a lot, so I think I said something to the effect of this. I feel like it's a cop-out at this point to just say, oh yeah, flippers bother me, because most people don't like flippers. But I said a topic that really bothers me is, and then I discussed colorway ownership, right? And I talked about how I think personally, as we grow as a community, we're going to have to move to a model where it's based more on like legal ownership than it is on our feels. Either we move toward legal ownership as the precedent, or we move toward like some community standard that we set up. But in order to set a community standard, a true one, we would have to have governance, right? Like industry standards get set by a board that claims ownership of some standards and governs that standard. It doesn't mean that somebody else can't make a new standard. They can. It just means that anybody who adheres to that standard adheres to that governing body's rule. By choice, usually. And so, as more and more people come in, we're either going to have some like non-profit organization or something internally that like their whole job is to set up community guidelines and standards, or everybody's just going to do whatever they want. And when you have a lot of people, the social pressure of, oh, well, I own those colors is going to melt into the background, which is the onslaught of people just buying those newly produced keycaps anyway, or whatever, or boards. Just like everybody hates flippers, but at the same time, people buy things from flippers. So, I mean, clearly people don't hate them enough sometimes to not vote with their wallet, right? Um, no, man. Oh, hey, I'm not hating. I was definitely on my own when I stopped talking about community as if it was a big happy family. I mean, our community is a pretty big happy family, but as it gets bigger, there's going to be complexity in keeping it happy. Hey, what up, Diddy? How you doing? Yeah, I think public shaming, it works in some instances, but it doesn't work at all in other instances, right? We aren't going to publicly shame people into not buying from a flipper. Especially when once the keyboard is on your desk, nobody really knows or cares where it came from. They're just like, oh man, that's a cool Jane V2. That you bought it for $3,500 and that someone profited a massive amount from selling it to you for $3,500 gets lost. So we could attempt to publicly shame people who are buying, but that's a demand-driven thing. So you can ban somebody who's flipping and they can create a new account and sell another thing that they bought legitimately somewhere else because they can change their name, because there's a level of anonymity on the internet that you can't get around. So a better way, I think, to deal with it, right, without just literally tracking every keyboard movement, like by serial number or something crazy like that, would be for vendors to control the selling in a different way. That may mean private group buys, more private group buys for things. That may be Vickery auctions. It may be whatever method. But for colorways specifically, like, either we come up with a standard, a guidance that we all can agree on, or most of us can agree on, that doesn't prohibit anyone from ever making a colorway that someone doesn't want to. Like some standard, like, you own it for this long. We're just going to agree that, like, after a year or whatever, if you haven't done anything with that colorway or planned on running a set or whatever, like, after you release your initial IC, like, somebody gets to make it if they want, or something like that, right? We don't do something like that and just kind of say, hey, yeah, we want this thing, and then a bunch of people back it up, then it's literally only going to move to the legal method, and then people are going to always be butthurt. They're like, oh, I don't own that thing, but I created it. Like, sure, you did create it, but it's like 3 or 4 colors, man. Like, it's not that complex. You should get credit for doing it, but you have to actually make it and make it available over and over again. Yeah, it does happen in shoes, and shoes is a really great analog for our community, right? Like, a bunch of really expensive bespoke things that don't have a high intrinsic value, or only have high intrinsic value because of scarcity. Right? Like, we didn't make a lot of them, so they're worth a lot because demand is high. They're scarce, but it doesn't actually cost a lot to make thousands of this PCB, for instance. Yeah, you guys are right. It's one of the things that I dislike most about our community, though. We are not attempting to attack that problem in any reasonable way. We're just relying on the same old thing that everyone else has been in small communities, and we need to grow in that way. I mean, I guess I'm up here talking about it, and I'm not actually doing anything directly about it at this point either, so. I do, though, however, play devil's advocate on this subject sometimes, and to mixed fanfare. Sometimes people are like, basically you're terrible for saying that that owner shouldn't have the rights to do something with it all the time, indefinitely. And sometimes people are like, yeah, this is an issue we got to work on. But it is an issue. Sometimes I'm willing to play devil's advocate on this one to get like conversation starting. Like, I want an Alps run of this thing. That the person who created it doesn't want to do an Alps run. What if they tell me, no, you can't do a run? Well, why should that be important? It's 4 colors, dude. If I want to make something out of plastic in 4 colors and I can find someone to actually manufacture it, why should that be problematic? How about this? You date my ex-wife. Hold on, what? I'm sad I kind of joined mid-talk. Don't worry about it, man. We're going to have more conversation for sure, and you're more than welcome to participate. How about this? You date my ex-wife, and I won't mention anything other than keyboard-related things in your stream. Oh, talisman, man. Dude, you're more than welcome to mention non-keyboard related things in my stream. If it bothered me, I would have asked you to stop. It doesn't. I actually like politics a lot. I'm just not going to personally try to drive the conversation sometimes toward hyper non-keyboard related politics. Mostly just because I don't want you guys all to kill each other in my chat. But I am more than happy to have political conversations personally. As long as, and I will say this is the one thing that I think is wrong with the way we discuss politics in our world right now. As long as the other participant is willing to have a different opinion than me and be civil about it. Like, we can get passionate about the things that we're passionate about. We can have those discussions. But what I don't want is this is the part that I hear and I see a lot, and it bothers me, is we can't be friends because you feel this way, or I don't ever want to talk to you again kind of thing. Like, you're like, man, this is a fundamental thing in our society. We get to have opinions, and I get it. Some people's opinions are so radically out there that you might not want to hang around with them, but probably don't say it that way and say, I'm not going to be your friend because you feel this way. That's bad. This did start with Lincoln Logs. Building a better log cabin. The issue is you have a phone and swap the ROM. You could be sued by the manufacturer. What's wrong? No matter. Can you be? What are you talking about? Like, you can't jailbreak your phone or whatever? Put a completely different OS on it? I mean, I'm pretty sure you can, at least in the US. I mean, I've done it, so guess maybe I shouldn't say exactly under what cases if I could be sued for it. Oh, helps if I open switch hitter. not be soldered. Page down. Okay, everything works except for page down, which isn't soldered on one pin. Makes sense. Looks like there's an important conversation going on, but I'm missing it because build cubes is happening. Okay. That's what I wanted to see. So now we're going to throw some kind of keycaps on. I'm going to put this in its case and finish the build up for you guys so that it looks real cool and is all nice, and we're done with the actual build part. There may be a part 2 to this stream where we put it in a new PCB where I desolder this and rebuild it entirely if I can't get that PCB working. But I'm not going to do that on stream today because it might take a while and I don't want it to... Talisman, thanks for the bit, man. I appreciate it. It could, in fact... Wait, the lights didn't all light up that time, did they? There's a fine line. Okay, so this fine line with civility thing, though. I want to hear what you have to say, right? Oh, I set some keycaps aside. So what do you guys think on this board before we get too crazy into it? It's the 6th of the month and you're already broke because of Kepler FC65 and all the spares you bought for it. Dude, no, like, thank you for supporting me, for coming and chatting. Seriously. It's gonna be awesome, man. I'm bummed I didn't get in on FC65, which I really wanted to, like, literally join the entire Kepler series, but it's just money, and I was trying to get in on other things. I probably, if there's an extra available right now, I could, but I'm just responsibility. Anyway, so what keycap set do we think we want to put on here? I have some options. White on black, always an option. Modern Dolch. Monochrome. I'm asking because I'm about to go test all the stabs, and ooh, this might be the option. Eclipse. I think I might have. So maybe Eclipse? What do you guys think of Eclipse? It's a dark board, so... Yeah, alright, I'm doing it. Owner said yes. That's what we're doing. Okay. So, right now what I'm actually going to do is test those stabs out and make sure that they're all good before we proceed. Because, you know, it's always technically possible for them to be trashed. Think about what modifiers color you guys want, because I have literally all of the extension modifiers or accent kits for this: the purple, the orange, and the pale blue. I think any of them could look good, but I want to know what you guys think. I mean, I'm blonde and a girl, but I think it's roughly where this is. Wait, what? Alright, message me back with the working. Yeah, let me get back to you on that, if it's okay with you, in 2 days time, because I want to make sure that this isn't, before you do it, I want to make sure that it's not easily reparable, because it might be. Okay, all of those work. That's good. Yeah, that's amazing. The person that had the last one was looking for a PCB because his had some issues as well. And he knew his had issues before he sent it to me. So it was like, hey, can you try and fix this? And he was trying to find one and couldn't. So you have the awesome fucking connections, man. That's all I gotta say. For real. Even Heine was reaching out and trying to help him find one. And the other customer, by the way, is probably one of the best customers that I've ever had. I've done like a shit ton of that guy's boards. Not that present company isn't a great customer. You are. This is the first work we're doing together. These are going to be 2.5, aren't they? All right. So anybody who doesn't have a good Weha set of drivers should seriously consider. It's definitely not that one. Or that one. Is it 2? Ooh, it is 2. Thinking about getting a mechanical keyboard. Dude, do it. And if you need help building it, or I mean, you're an EE though, right? You probably have your own solder tools and the know-how to do this. But if you don't and you want help, hit me up. Next project involves logs and clearing the middle of the woods. Okay. Yeah, log splitter makes that way easier for sure. So this is the next challenge, by the way, in building a duck unicorn legend, FYI. When we get this apart, you'll see what I mean. Oh, what is this nonsense? 2.5 up here? That's right. I knew I pulled that out for a reason. So the next problem with actually most duck keyboards, it's not a problem, it's just a challenge for people who are building them, is getting all of these, because these diffusers are separate pieces, is getting them all lined up once you... there we go. Right? So, because this one rests in the top and these ones rest in the bottom, there's a little tiny glue pad that comes on that doesn't work in the end and falls off and is garbage. But whatever. Okay. I don't know why I kept the bottom piece. Don't actually want or need the bottom piece at the moment. Do, however, want the top piece and need that. Boom. There's our screws and our bump-ons. So we'll get that going. It's an insane number of VODs on here, on Twitch and YouTube videos, all the expertise you could ever need. It's true. I understand why it could be nice to have someone else build for you, but if it's a thing you're inclined to do yourself, you can watch a bunch of my VODs. I've posted all of my stuff onto YouTube, pretty much. So you can watch them there. Are these 2? They are. Cool. So there's that. And then, man, I really need to make some instructional videos. That's really what it comes down to, isn't it? Like, produced content. I need somebody to help me edit all that. It's a pain in the ass. Like that blue thing, got that off Amazon. Blue thing. This mat, yes, definitely Amazon. It's a silicone mat. It's weird because most of the ones that you find on Amazon are actually much smaller than this. They're made for like phone repair. It's difficult to find one. I don't remember the dimensions of this one, but it's like probably 24 inches on the long end. So that's kind of nice, in my opinion. Man, I hate not being able to ship a customer's board right back to them. I'm gonna build this. I'm gonna take a look at it a little bit when I get off of stream, or maybe even while we're chatting here after we do a typing test. And then I'm gonna have to look at it more over the next couple days because I have a fairly busy weekend, but I'll have time tonight to mess with it a little bit. Tonight? Tomorrow night for sure. This, I might not have time to do it at all tonight. Depends on what time I get home. Okay. So I leave these a little loose when I put these on the very first time, because I want those keycaps to line up correctly. So if you look, I didn't tighten them all down. And the reason for that, Jeff Leopard, what's up, man? How are you doing? Talisman, message me in Discord outside of here. IMEURU 7264. IMEURU number 7264. And I'll try and find the link to this specific mat if you want. If you can't find it on your own, or if you're having a hard time. I like this mat a lot. This thing is effing awesome. So anyway, yeah, with boards where the plate is not super tight, I'm shaking the camera a little bit, sorry. Where it's not super tight, I always leave them just a little loose so I can line up the keycaps and get it right before I tighten them down. And I would recommend doing that for all of you guys. All right. So are we doing, which one are we doing? Are we doing pale blue accents, orange accents, or purple accents? Nice, dude. Are you building it today? I'm really busy today, but I'll watch the VOD. You should record it. If you have this set up to do it. Wait, what? Oh, do purple. Oh, I thought you... When you said purple, I was like, he sent you a polycarb purple one already? What the... I was like, that doesn't make sense. You should have gotten a proto like mine. Took me a second. Which one were you putting the up arrow to, Deli? Blue? Pale blue? Jeff, I would take your word. I would use your suggestion, except if the customer has a specific one, I'm doing that. Pale blue. Pale blue. Which one? Your choice, man. Your choice. I figured you would. Purple. We're doing purple then. Dunzo. So I did get into HBCP for a polycarb purple one. Yes, I know I have the proto run. Don't care. So there is one issue with the proto that I know you know about, but I'm going to reiterate when you go to build it. Make sure you clip the overhang of the switch pins on the bottom. There's not enough space on the prototype for it to clear. It's just the proto though. The regular one won't have that issue. I feel like I have were there space bars? Maybe there weren't. Ooh, what was that post? I will look at Keycap posts. GMK Nightshade. Oh yeah. Fuck yes, Nightshade. I'm in. Loving it. Loving it. Hey, way more people jumped in than I thought would on my random Saturday morning stream. Thanks for joining, guys. Appreciate it. Don't get to use that one very often, so we're doing that. I know that's not the customer's layout, but we're not done with that yet, so. I feel like somebody just sent me something. No. Okay, good. Still waiting for Black Lotus. I am too. Well, I mean, that set has been delayed for a crazy long time. That being said, I feel like if it doesn't run, somebody just needs to run it. Like, somebody should hit up the owner and be like, look, if you're not going to actually get this thing accomplished, can we do it? I mean, if they don't, in fact, do it. But I'm guessing they will eventually. Okay, so I love keycaps that have front legends on them. Freaking awesome. Like print system requirements. It's the best. Every keycap set should have that. IMO. I'm not gonna put them all on like this, but I am doing the whole borders. So I can see the Talisman sent me a message. Maybe? Maybe that's what that is. I'm guessing it is. Get that link to you. I will. I'm happy that you're here, man. I'm happy that all of you guys are here. Thanks for joining, seriously. Okay, we're gonna do that outline up here too. It's weird when plates have that much play, like can move that side to side and front to back. So it's always good to have good lines to reference. alignment. Although I'm actually going to be taking this thing out, so I don't know why I'm worried that hard about it. Probably just so I can show you guys. Right? It's not actually that complex. But if you look at it, like right now, here's a good place to start, right? If you look at it, escape is clearly pushing way over there. And so is everything else, right? So we will... I don't know if I can do this effectively. Okay, so the right kind of way to do this a little bit is, now that we've got this corner kind of where we want it to be, maybe horizontally and vertically. Is we're going to tighten that guy down a lot, that one corner, pretty well. Normally I try and evenly tighten things. Not super tight, just snug. Right, and it still looks fairly well aligned. Now we're going to line up this top edge, because it still has quite a lot of play. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to be able to show this as well as I want. Here, there we go. So if you look, it's a little far up in that one corner. Needs to come down just a little bit. So I screw it the right direction. Okay. I think you guys got the point of what I'm trying to do. And then look at kind of the bottom edges. There's a gap around them. Clear the space bar and stuff. So now we're gonna do the bottom corners. Make sure it's still good. Okay, gaps look all good. It's tightened mostly. Tighten the top centers. Tighten the ones around that. In our star pattern as much as possible. And then we'll go back and make sure that corners are actually tightened the amount they should be. Okay, boom. Looks aligned. So that's how you kind of do that one, guys. Throw the rest of the keycaps on here, and then I'll get this on the bottom. Show you how to align that. Real quick. Get it going. Dude, this DSA Scientific, so freaking pretty. I wish that actually that it was in GMK. Does that make me bad? DSA is good. I do kind of like DSA. I like DSA more than I like SA for sure. I like DCS less than I like Cherry Profile. But SP will make Alps caps and GMK won't, or isn't at least. Man, that would be a cool thing to ask GMK. Hey, what would it take to get an Alps cap? I wonder if they would. I'm sure they would for the right volume and money. Just not sure that it'll happen in our community. Oof, that's beautiful. I also didn't solder in the indicator lights yet, which I'm not going to do until I figure out the other LEDs. But it's real simple. They literally just shine through depending on what layer you're on. So this is kind of the way to line up on the duck. So there's more diffusers on the bottom piece than there is on the top. So you just kind of line the top ones up, hold it down. Best yet is to glue it, and then you set it down. And you very carefully, because you're going to probably mess this up several times before you ever get it right. Hold under tension, flip. Oof, steady. Dang it, I probably messed it up. Ooh, can't believe that kind of worked actually. It did? Cool. So if you let this scoot side to side too much, the bottom piece of that will fall into the upper case. Normally you can't realign it like that. Alrighty, we are almost there to a board. I'm not going to tighten these down at all, really, just screw them in a little bit. Always back them up a little bit to get them to seat in the threads properly. Always a good plan. Sometimes I've seen on duck boards like this where they have a front diffuser, where these center ones, even after you're all done, don't really line up perfectly. Such is life. Okay. Oof. I want to know how much this weighs before we go crazy. We have one more thing to do before we go all in. Trackcat, thanks for what, man? Oh, for getting the weight? Oh, how do you get a hold of me about building a board? I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. There's a link right below the Twitch. Like if you scroll down below the video in Twitch, there's a link to an old Mech Market post probably at this point, but you contact me on Reddit is the very best way, or you can contact me on Discord. I am me, you are you, 7264. However, I recommend actually doing that initial contact all the way up until I get you a quote on Reddit. Not because I don't want to talk to you on Discord, I'm more than happy to. But my workflow absolutely works best with the Reddit comms because basically what happens is I don't mark messages read if I'm mobile until I get the thing done. So if you hit me up, I can read your message, think about it or whatever, and then when I actually get home, start doing it. Whatever, it just works best for my workflow. But if it doesn't work for you, then that's fine. Discord will work. It's just there can be like little hitches in the speed at which things all come through. You may have to prod me a second time if you don't hear from me for a little while. Okay. Oof. Thank you guys. All right, so we will mute that BS and we will turn this fan off and we will do something else. We're going to do a little typing test. Yeah, I can still hear the music. All right. That's kind of a bummer because there's lights on part of it, but not all of it. Oh well. Okay, haven't typed at all really today. Okay, 65. Yeah, and like I said, I'm not even going to solder these in until we work on those and make sure that they work. But per our previous discussion, got a bunch of LEDs ready to roll for it. And then, so you guys can just kind of hear it, right? Because I want you to understand what it sounds like. We're, you know, that far away. Sorry if, oh well. Okay, so. That one's a little more sluggish. To wipe a little bit off of that one. No problem, just a little more lubricated than the other ones, but I'll fix that. Yeah, that space bar. Sound good? You liking it? I'll fix it. That's easy though. Remember what I said earlier, you can wipe just a little bit off. It'll be all good. Spacebar sounds great though, huh? Oof. Loving it. I love the sound of an FR4 plate getting smacked, like just bap bap. Bottom out sound is freaking great. Yeah, I'm a big fan. As before, pain in the ass, PCB, and literally everything having to do with making the board, but effing gorgeous. and the weight of it is just about right, honestly, in my mind, for this kind of a keyboard. 5 pounds, 3.8 ounces. I wasn't too far off when I said I was about 5 pounds earlier, which I think 5, 6 pounds, 7 pounds even is like the perfect range for being able to still use it, move it around a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not like stupid like Kepler is going to be, which I'm looking forward to anyway, but Alps sound best with FR4. Do they now? I'm down to get some Alps FR4 plates cut. In fact, I've definitely considered it. You always go for carbon fiber, 6 pounds close. Yeah, so I jumped in. Did anybody jump in on Jay's mini GB for plates? Because that was a pretty good idea if you did. I jumped in on 3 plates, and 2 of them are Alps. Tradcat19, thanks for following. I appreciate that a lot. Tradcat, trad like climbing gear, like trad climbing stuff. Is that where that comes from? Perfect. Maybe what was a mistake? Maybe it was a mistake for me to jump in on. Oh, you have both couplers. Yeah, it's not sluggish at all now. Sounds great. I did buy FR4 and Palm for my Keplers, but I got the Alps plate as well. So FR4 Alps plate is going to go in my Kepler with brown Alps and SGI granite. It's going to be a beast. Talk about like a $1,500 effing Kepler when all's said and done, right? So I feel you. And when I jumped in on HPCP, the group buy one, I bought like almost everything except for a second bottom. I didn't get the unweighted bottom, but every other option there was. And I got like 2 PCBs and all sorts of stuff. So I got I don't know, I think it was probably like $900. No, I'm talking. No, so Heine did EPBT slate. I'm talking about SGI granite. So it's an OG Alps set. Here it is. SGI granite. That's SGI granite, yeah. And I got silver. My Kepler is all silver. So it'll look like that, basically. It'll look great. It will. I do believe on an all silver Kepler, it's gonna look clean with an FR4 Alps plate. Deli. So the PCB, if you end up needing to get it, has Mil-Max hole tight. Wait, it has Mil-Max or hole tights. They're two different things. That'll be a pain in the ass, but we'll get them out. If you end up needing it, we'll get them out. Give me a couple days. I'll look at the actual PCB. I'll play with the LEDs, try and reflow those joints on the adjacent LEDs and make sure that there's connectivity there. Play with a voltmeter for a little while and try and figure out what's going on. It could take a little while longer than we had on stream today, so I didn't want to. Yeah, so below, so the how to get a hold of me, there's a Mech Market post below. Like if you like look at me, contact me for a build, I think on my stream, something like that. Here, you know what? Let me just get you a link, buddy. I will get a link. I will post it. So this is a 4 months ago post, but you can still PM me on here. Oh, helps if I plug in. I know, TSC already did it, but here's from me too. So just follow that, say PM in the bottom in the comments, right, on Mech Market using your Reddit user. That lets everybody know that you're trying to get a hold of me. Also, it shows how much karma you have on there, which may or may not be zero, but whatever. And then actually send me a message directly saying, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. And I will help you out, man. I should. So here's the deal. I do not use Streamlabs OBS, which is what most people are using. So I think Nightbot is easy to integrate, like it's automatic almost. I use Stream Elements. I need to set up a bot. Yeah, sorry, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's a generational thing. It is. There's a lot of people born right around the time I was and after with that name. But whatever. I don't hate my name. Anyway, yeah, so hit me up. And then Tradcat, what I was asking before is your name a reference to trad climbing equipment? Like traditional climbing equipment? Just makes me curious. At least it's not Chadwick. Fair. Fair. See, Josh isn't a douchey name. It's just like a name. Everybody that I know people who are named Chad, not Chadwick, but Chad, who are nice people, but generally speaking, people make fun of Brads and Chads and Chazes. Coffee, guys. Just, you know, that Costco branding, whatever. Traditional Catholic. Okay. I had to wonder what it was. Trad cat. Now it makes even better sense. Okay. Like pre V2 Catholic. Oh God, where are we going with this conversation? Pre V2 Catholic? It's like Zealios V2. They're more tactile, right? The V2s. It's gotta be what it is. Man, so the morning stream turned out better than I thought it would. Thanks for visiting, guys. Seriously. This has been a blast. And this purple looks effing hot on here. I'm actually happy I jumped in on all three accent colors. Yours. We're not gonna jump into religion. That one gets, that's the only thing more like more than politics that would get us in hot water. They only speak massive Latins. Is that real? I don't know. I don't know that much about Catholicism or Christianity in general or religion in general. I know that my name is traditionally from the Bible. One of the books, right? Named after? Yeah, whatever. I love that you're like, I am Jesus, and then next line, though. Like, there's gonna be more. Thanks, man. I appreciate you coming by, chatting. I appreciate all of it, and the politics talk earlier I think was good. It was healthy politics talk, not unhealthy. Nobody got shitty or weird or mean. It was good. Wait. That was more of a TSC and a history nerd and knows. Oh, okay. Well, you know, I just don't know nearly enough about religion to have good intelligent conversation about the details. My moderator is great. TSC is awesome. Thank you so much, TSC, for being a good mod. And Talisman, thanks for the good conversation. Whether we brought it to politics or not, it's fine. It's my job to keep us as on topic and not confrontational and shitty as I can, as we should be. You guys should have all the fun and chat that you can. All right, take it easy, guys. Thanks again. My normal stream times are Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Obviously today we just kind of randomly started because I wanted to make sure that I got this board complete, and now it turns out that this isn't going to go back to the customer immediately anyway because we need to look at this PCB. I will try to look at it today and tomorrow at some point and figure out what's going on, Deli, and get it to you as soon as possible if it's working. Otherwise, have you order that other PCB and send it back. For anybody that missed it, some of the lights aren't working, but we're gonna get it worked out. Absolutely, man, I will. All right, everybody else, well, everybody, take it easy. Have a good one. Have a great rest of your weekend. Oh, who's streaming right now? Anyone streaming? That part I do want to know, and you guys can help me if you know of any. Nope. Pause that, whatever that is. Any streamers that we should Tradcat, I'm looking forward to it, man. I don't see anybody else streaming right now. Well, I mean, keyboard streaming. I mean, I could send you guys all to like a PUBG stream, but I'm not going to do that to you. All right. Thanks again. Bye, guys. Oh. Wait. There is somebody? Yuhugwa? I don't know that one. Well, Chaco is streaming Apex Legends. And Choco Taco has 2,000 viewers, so I feel like he doesn't really need our support in that way. But anyway, again, thank you guys a lot. Have a great rest of your day and weekend. See you guys on Wednesday.